Time for Coach Jim Toman.
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
We go to tournament play. This man used to shine during tournament play when he was at South Carolina and Liberty in particular. And now he gets to talk about it with us here on Sports Talk. We welcome in Coach Jim Toman, just a bit outside. All right. We had Jack Leggett on tonight. It was funny because Jack's going into the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame tonight, Coach. And as he was getting on the air with us, who comes walking in the convention center but Ray Tanner? So to me, knowing these two gents and the rivalry, that was just, I couldn't have planned the timing any better than to have Ray come walking in as Jack was going on the air. Ray came by and put his hands on his shoulders and shook Jack and shook his hand. But anyway, I bring that up to talk about getting into postseason play, and Coach Leggett said you get hot in postseason play, and who knows who ends up getting to Omaha. You just got to get hot at the right time.
Wow, that's two big ones in one room, Jack Leggett and Ray Tanner, two of the very best, and they're from our state. That's tremendous. But they had a good relationship. At times it got a little fiery, probably because of me half the time. Because Coach Leggett, every now and then he'd call Coach Tanner and say, Coach Toman recruiting this guy, and he said this and he said that. And I just killed him with kindness, Bill. I tried to be as nice as I could be. But we wanted to get all them in-state recruits, so I had to lay it on pretty good. But here's a little tidbit for Storm Toman. What was Jim Toman's record versus Jack Leggett? In Jack Leggett, his career, Jack Leggett is a Hall of Fame coach, and I got a chance to play against him as a head coach at Liberty for 3 different games, and I ended up going 3-0 versus Jack Leggett. That's one of my very few claims to fame that I have as a coach, that I went 3-0 against Jack Leggett. How about that?
How
when
about
I was
that?
At Liberty University.
How about
Liberty
that?
University beat us twice in the South Carolina Regional and once at home at Clemson. Of course, Jack won about 9 million games, way more than me. But that guy deserves every bit of every Hall of Fame he gets into. I really, being a rival of his, that still is very, very. It's just an awesome coach, and he's one of the best. There's no doubt about it. So everything that Jack gets is well deserved.
Absolutely. But let me ask you about this before you get into Toman tidbits and all that. You got a Clemson team that bounced back from being swept at Wake to sweep Boston College, though they were left for dead in that first game on Friday night or Thursday night, whatever night it was. They were left for dead, but in Clemson fashion, they came back to win. Two things. I'm going to talk Clemson and Gamecocks. Clemson, still wonder about their pitching going into postseason play. Will it be good enough to carry them a long way? Gamecocks, they've lost 6 in a row. Their pitching has been in shambles. Their hitting, their timely hitting remains a mystery for the most part. Their defense has been a little shaky here of late, and they'll play Alabama in the SEC play-in round tomorrow afternoon. Can they find themselves again and put some wins together in Hoover? So start with Clemson, then talk about the Gamecocks.
Okay, Clemson may be the only school in the state with a lock for an NCAA bid right now, and I think it's going to be a national seed. And for the listeners, if you get to be a top 8 national seed, all that means is that you're hosting for the regional, and if you win the regional, you will also get to host in the super regional. So you want to get in that top 8, and Clemson's RPI is number 7. They were the number 2 seed in the ACC tournament. Their RPI is so good. They're 40 wins. They're 20-10 in the league. I would say that Clemson is a top 8 national seed, and if they win their regional, they'll host again at Tiger Field. They play that weird pool play format in the ACC tournament. They're in three different pools. Clemson is in with Miami and Louisville. They won't play until Thursday. But you play single elimination after that. If you win your pool, you go to a single elimination tournament with four teams, and then you come up with an ACC winner magically. But it's at Truist Field in Charlotte, North Carolina, for all of you ACC fans. It
Do
starts
you like that
tomorrow.
format? Do you like that
No,
format?
I kind of like what the SEC does, and the SEC matches up more with what happens in NCAA regional and super regional play and College World Series play. So why not do it like the NCAA regionals and the super regionals and Omaha, so you get used to that type of tournament? I don't know why ACC does it. Maybe RPI purposes, or to try to get more people in from the ACC into the regionals. Not sure. I don't know what stats are on that, but I'd rather have it like the SEC and play a double elimination tournament. The one thing about Clemson, you talked about their pitching. I had heard through the rumor mill that freshman Aiden Knock is going to probably move to be their Saturday starter, and they're going to, in the regional, they're going to probably pitch him maybe the second game, but he seems to be maybe their best guy as a freshman, and they're moving him up a little bit from what I understand. So, but Clemson right now for me is a national seed. They got it done, and but I just feel like right now they might be the only school right now that is an actual lock. Now there's several teams that are on the bubble, including the Gamecocks. Absolutely, worried a little bit. Lost their last 6. Their RPI is down to 19, which is still very good. But the committee does look at how you finish, and right now, it would be 2-8 or something in our last 10. We are the 10th seed. Now, that sounds pretty bad, but technically we were tied for 7th with like 5 teams. And I've never seen that happen before in the SEC. I just know them 5 teams are all 13 and 17. It used to be when I coached, you had to go 500 or better to think you were getting in a regional. And then a couple years later, it was 14 and 16. And then all of a sudden, the team got in at 13 and 17 because they had a good RPI. So now the magic number they say is like 13. Well, all 5 of them 13 and 17 teams can't get in. In my opinion, that would mean 11 SEC teams got in. I can see 9 or 10 maybe, but I don't think 11 are getting in. So this SEC tournament, them schools that are 13 and 17 better win. Now, South Carolina has a great RPI, but, the other teams with 13 and 17 RPIs, or 13 and 17 records, I mean, you're looking at RPIs of 18, Alabama, and 24, and 27, and 30, with teams like LSU and Florida. So there's still, them 5 teams have really good RPIs. But it would be very difficult for me to see 11 teams get in. But it depends on how the tournaments go nationally, and if there's a bunch of upsets, and if there's room. But I can't imagine that 5 teams that were 13 and 17 going in the SEC tournament are all going to get a regional. I don't see it happening.
This Alabama game might just be for an NCAA tournament spot, because the loser's going to go home. Alabama's got an RPI of 18. The Gamecocks have an RPI of 19, and the committee might say, okay, whoever wins that game is going to get one of those spots.
Not just this game, but the other 3 teams that are 13 and 17, how are they going to do? I learned today that Alabama is going to throw their big lefty, who's a senior, Greg Barone, 6'6", 240. When he pitched against South Carolina March 30th, he was 5 in the 3rd innings, 3 runs, 5 hits, 1 walk, and 4 Ks. And that was the 3rd game in the series that South Carolina won 9-8. But that guy was not involved in the decision, so he pitched pretty good for 5 in the 3rd innings against us, against South Carolina March 30th. So he's been there most probably their most reliable guy. I feel like he's probably their number one guy, even though he's pitched on Saturdays and Sundays as well. But he is pitching, and, it's the SEC tournament. Sometimes you go in there and only throw 3-4 innings with a good guy, but that's if you're locked for a regional. So, you gotta keep your good guys out there, and this game has to be won. Once you win a single elimination game, you get to go into double elimination. You get to go in the regular tournament. So tomorrow's game is absolutely huge. The SEC tournament is going to be really good when you got 5 teams really, really worried about whether they're getting in or not at this point. Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, A&M, Mississippi State, Georgia are the top 6. They're already going to be in the regionals. These other teams, most of them will be in, but I don't see it being all 5 of them 13 and 17 teams. So, basically, the tournament, once again, down at the Hoover Met down in Birmingham, man, they put on a great show down there. It's a fun deal. Hopefully, South Carolina can make a good run down there. Ole Miss is the last team in at 12. They're 11 and 19. And Missouri was 9 and 21, and Auburn was 8 and 22. So their season's over at Missouri and Auburn. They're not even in the SEC tournament. Okay, on the Coastal, we've got Coach Gilmore with being a sentimental favorite for me to get an NCAA bid, but he has some work to do. Now, his RPI is still good at 35. They're 33 and 21. They're 16 and 14. They won their last couple in the Sun Belt. But they're a 7 seed. They play 10 seed Georgia State in Montgomery, Alabama. And I think that Coach will probably need to get to the finals to get a bid, or maybe at least win a couple of games. And if I was on that committee, boy, I would be pulling for Coach Gilmore to get back in the regional in his last year of a Hall of Fame career. College of Charleston, great year by Coach Holbrook. But here's the problem. The problem is not everyone, there's only 64 teams. There's only so many at-large picks. They won the conference, but I guess it's the Coastal Athletic Conference now, the CAA. They won the regular season over UNC Wilmington. They were 21 and 5. They've had a great year. They're 39 and 12. They won 25 of their last 28 games. And we shouldn't even be having this discussion when you've won 25 out of 28. They're 9 and 1 in their last 10. They're on a 5-game win streak. 21 and 5 in their conference. But the problem is, if they're looking at the RPI, it's 50. And that goes back to the non-conference schedule, which is 206, which wasn't good. However, personally, having been in similar positions when I was at Liberty and not getting in and winning 40 games, I would definitely put them in the field. But I think they need to win a few games and, make sure that they don't get left out, because it would be a shame for them to get left out when, they won the CAA regular season and they've won 25 out of 28. Their RPI is 50. All 5 of them SEC teams that are 13 and 17 have a better RPI. 18, 19, 24, 27, and 30. And then College of Charleston's a 50 RPI. So if that committee, they kind of use that RPI when they need it to get you in, and then when they need it to get you out. So you never quite know who's on that committee and how they're going to take that. But for me, I'm taking College of Charleston for sure with the great year that they had and winning the regular season in the CAA. Big shout-out to Coach Pollock over there at Presbyterian. They won the Big South the regular season, and he's a great coach, and they're the number 1 seed for the Big South tournament. They only have a 4-team tournament. Kind of crazy, but it's Presbyterian. High Point is the 2 seed, and then a couple South Carolina squads. USC Upstate is the 3rd seed, and Charleston Southern is the 4th seed. But nice job by Coach Pollock to win the regular season in that league. Wofford is 5 seed. Their RPI is pretty good, 57, but they'd have to win that tournament. They're in the Southern Conference. They play the Citadel, who's the 8 seed. They play against each other tomorrow in Greenville. It's a single elimination deal tomorrow for them. So, Field in Greenville, if you're a Citadel or Wofford fan, 2 South Carolina squads going at it. The last team in the league, Winthrop, ended their season 19 and 29, and their season's over. They didn't make the tournament. There was some breaking news earlier. I don't know if you guys heard it or not, but Kendall Rogers has said that Tom Reginas was let go today by Winthrop.
Yes.
And yeah, I didn't know if you guys said that or not. Sometimes I can get you guys on the radio. Sometimes I can't find it too good. But 14 seasons at Winthrop. Tom's a great guy. He'll rally, and hopefully he'll get another job soon. But so there's one season of our 10 teams in South Carolina. There's one season that's already over. If there's one lock, and that's Clemson, South Carolina Coastal, College of Charleston on the bubble. Some are bubble in, some are bubble out. Depends on what happens in the tournament. Obviously, if the other teams can win the tournament, you go automatically to the regionals. So it's a big, big week in South Carolina.
Gotta ask you a quick question before we lose you here. Got about 3 more minutes.
Yeah.
So the SEC. Go ahead, Chris. You asked the question. You've read the story about what they're doing at first base.
Yeah, Coach, the SEC is going to experiment this week with the double first base, almost like they have in Little League, where there is one bag that's literally in foul territory, the other bag that's in fair territory, and the rule is basically a safety situation where they try to avoid some collisions at first base. Have you ever dealt with that in your collegiate career, and if so, did you like it, and if not, do you like it?
Well, in the big leagues, they've made the bases bigger. Now, if they were going to do something like that, they should have done it at the beginning of the season. They shouldn't do it in the SEC tournament where they have and they're not used to it.
Yeah.
Number one. I don't know why in a tournament as important to all these teams in the SEC, why would you change the rules and the bags? I mean, they might be chipping over the bag. Who knows what's going to happen?
And let me ask a question. Let me ask a question.
Yeah.
So you're the base runner, you're the batter, and you hit a ball, and it's a bang-bang play at first. Like, are you supposed to veer away and go to the bag on the outside? Or are you supposed to go to the regular bag?
That's supposed to be your direct path to it anyway, evidently, because they don't want you inside the line.
Well, here's my other question then. My follow-up is, how much more difficult is it for the first base umpire to have his attention split? He's got to now watch the first baseman catching the ball with his foot on one bag and the runner trying to get his foot down on another bag. Does that make it tougher on the umpire?
That's crazy. It's the first I've heard of it. I get it if you do it throughout the whole year, but throwing that at him right now in the SEC tournament, it could affect the game. It probably won't. But I get the danger part of it and all that, safety part of it. But now isn't the time to be changing the rules when they've played all year with other bases. Okay, it's just like the big leagues. In minor leagues, they got bigger bases now, and you can't in minor leagues. You can't have the shift on, and the bases are bigger, and then you got the pitch clock, and it's easier to steal bases, and the bases are closer to you because they're a little bit bigger, and the pitchers can pick only a couple times, and they're brushed. So, yeah, them rules, it take a while to get used to. And we're in the second year of that, in Major League Baseball. But to throw them bases out there right now, I think that's pretty ridiculous. And I would think the other coaches think the same. And they probably didn't ask the coaches. But I do have one more shout-out.
Okay.
That time, the shout-out to Maryland Eastern Shore. They got it done. They had the imperfect 0-48 season.
Wow.
But how about this? They did not even finish. This is why the RPI probably isn't very accurate. They went 0-48, and they weren't the worst team in the RPI. Arkansas Pine Bluff went 9-34, and they ended up in the regular season 304. And Arkansas Pine Bluff ended up 305. So Shout out
ridiculous.
to Shore.
It's ridiculous.
Forget the defeated season done, but they couldn't quite get the last 305. They couldn't get the last RPI position. So
That's hilarious.
God bless them, and hopefully next year they'll win again.
Coach, as always, we've enjoyed it. We're looking forward to the run through the postseason with you. So have yourself a great week watching all this baseball. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Coach.
Oh, it's going to be fun. You guys
Hey, listen,
have a great night.
and also, listen, don't go out and get hired for a coaching job now and
Hey.
you know, cause us to lose this segment here in the postseason. We can't have
I
that.
could probably still do it because I'm not getting any payment out of it. I think I can keep doing it, but I sent 3 resumes in today. 3 jobs opened up today, and I figured out how to send my resume through my phone. How about that for technology?
You're batting 1,000. You're 3 for 3.
I didn't get a response yet, but I'm waiting here about a phone to see if they got my resume.
All right. Well, good luck, and we thank you as always.
All right, guys, have fun.
Take care. All right.
Phil,
That's
if you need
Coach
further
Jim Toman.
proof how ridiculous the RPI is, there's example A.
Yeah.
The team that did not win a game does not have the worst RPI in the country.
Yeah.
Explain that. How is that even
can't.
possible?
I guess, I mean, they're getting credited for playing a tougher. What was their strength of schedule?
It doesn't matter. They went 0 and what do you say? 0-49?
Yeah.
That should be literally, that's the worst team in the country, bar none.
My goodness.